Hey guys, I'm here for the lasagna recipe that everybody's been waiting for. Sorry it's taken so long. We kind of got into the holidays and then we had a bunch of stuff going on. So anyway, here I am to show you how to do the recipe. This is a little bit of a subbing nightmare, so I just want to kind of walk through a few things to help with the sub part. I know a lot of you get a little bit nervous on the subbing. If you ever have questions, just reach out to the community because there's a couple math nerds that love to do the subbing stuff. So I'm just going to walk through what my meal plan shows, what I'm supposed to have, as well as like how to sub everything for your proteins and your fats and everything. So pretty much you get together what you want or what is going to go in your lasagna. So I chose a fat-free cottage cheese in place of a ricotta cheese. Now you could do a fat-free ricotta cheese as well, but I stuck with the cottage cheese fat-free because that is what I have in my fridge. Excuse me. I did a tomato sauce and just with some seasonings in it, some cheese, and my ground meat. So first thing is figuring out what's your carbs, what's your proteins, and what are your fats. So I know that I have ground chicken here. You can use beef. I would recommend not using a sausage, which typically I would use an Italian sausage for this, but that's going to be a lot higher in fat. You're going to get a lot less. So if you can find a beef or a chicken or a turkey that is very lean, you're going to get more volume, and of course we want more volume. And then that's going to be a protein. My cottage cheese is also going to be a protein. So I'm going to want to figure out my sub for that. So I have 85 grams of chicken breast on my plan, and I know I want to sub for these two things. So what I kind of started with is I just put a little bit of cottage cheese in a dish, eyeballing it, thinking that might be about how much I want to use for my lasagna piece here. And then I kind of set that aside. I weighed what that portion was so I knew how much I wanted to sub for. So anyway, I came out with, for 85 grams of chicken breast, I can sub that for 45 grams. Gross, there's beef on my thing. Sorry. I can sub that for 45 grams of fat-free cottage cheese and 59 grams of the lean ground chicken that I have. And I just have that written down here. And then my carbs are obviously going to be the noodles and the sauce. So a little interesting fact, you can use like a store-bought sauce. Or you can just use a tomato sauce and put seasonings in it. Huge difference between these two. This sauce I would only get about 45 grams of. This sauce I get 80 grams or 90 grams of. This one in 1/4 of a cup is 20 calories for the serving. Okay? This one's half of a cup, but 80 calories. So I can get a lot more sauce if I want to use just tomato sauce. So I measured out about how much tomato sauce I would want to use for my recipe. And let's see what I decided on. Yeah, I decided on 90 grams of sauce. So with that, I take my Italian seasonings and I just season that puppy right up. So the only thing it's missing is all of the sugar. This has sugar in it. That's what drives up your calories. Just stay away from that. Use your own sauce. It's simple. Buy a can. They come in smaller cans than this. Just buy a can. So this is, normally I would get 200 grams of sweet potato. When I want to sub that, there's two carb sources I'm subbing for. Remember, there's the sauce and there's also the noodles. So now I know how much sauce that I want to use. So I'm going to take that off of what my sweet potato says. So I put in sweet potato, 200 grams in my food calculator. It came up, what I wanted to know is how many calories that was. I'm going to subtract these calories off it. So this ended up being, I don't remember how many calories. I forgot to write the calorie load down. I'm sorry. But anyway, I subtract these calories off my sweet potato. Then I figure out how many noodles I can have, or how much, given what the amount of calories that I have left to use is how many calories I can have in my noodles. So I'm just going to show you an example, because I didn't write all of that math part down. But in these particular noodles that I have, it shows that they're 200 calories in 56 grams. And we're sitting at about 41 carbs. Well, my sweet potato was 172 calories and about 38 carbs. So this would be a decent sub. So I take the 200 minus the 172 for the calories in the sweet potato, and you're going to get that difference. I'm sorry, you're not going to subtract them, divide. So you take the 172 divided by 200. You're going to get a difference, or a decimal point. You take that decimal that you get, multiply it by 56 grams, and that is how many grams of noodles you can have. Now we have to keep in mind that we have the tomato sauce, so you have to subtract that out as well. So I came up with 40 grams of noodles. So if you guys have these same measurements on your plan, then lucky you. Just, you can do the exact same measurements that I'm doing right here. So I have my noodles cooked. So 40 grams of noodles is what I ended up using, which was almost 2 full noodles. So now I'm just going to layer this up like I would a lasagna. Don't rinse your noodles after you cook them. Just drain them. Keep that starchy goodness on them. Helps them be sticky and stuff. My oven is preheated, so I'm just going to go ahead and layer everything. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot one other thing, my fat. I get cheese. So I have 40 grams of cheddar cheese, and I knew I wanted to use some Parmesan cheese. So I went into the food calculator, and it's basically a 1-for-1 sub. So I used about 5 grams of Parmesan to mix in with my cottage cheese, and I will then use 35 grams of cheddar cheese for my meal. So I mixed the cottage cheese here with Parmesan cheese and all of my seasonings. Just mix that together. Same thing. My ground chicken has a bunch of the seasonings in it as well, and so does the sauce. So now I'm just going to go ahead and layer everything, and then I'll show you what that looks like. I'll pop it in the oven, and I'll show you the finished product. Okay, so I've got it all put together here. It's all layered up. I'm going to pop it in the oven. I just have my oven at 350. I actually might bump it up to 375, but I'll bake it for about 20 minutes, check on it, see where we're at. Some of this is all pretty still warm because I just cooked up the chicken, and the noodles are still warm. So I'll just pop it in, and I just want to send you a little reminder that the noodles you measure when they're dry, not cooked. There's a big weight difference between dry and cooked. So be sure to measure that carb source out when it's dry, just as you measure like your sweet potato when it's raw. And then, pick a meal that you have a protein, a carb, and a fat with it. and if you would have to borrow from another meal, make sure it's okay with your coach first that you borrow. Maybe you say like your last meal has the most fat in it and you would like to use that as your cheese for this. Just check with your coach, make sure they're okay with you kind of switching that up. But that's it. I will show you this when it's all done. Are you guys ready? Here it is. All cooked up. So look at all that goodness. That's a pretty darn big piece of lasagna, I would say. There it is. You guys try this recipe. Enjoy. Let me know what you think. And if you have any questions, just put a comment down. Otherwise, find us in the community.